In TCR, it's Honda from Audi from two Hyundais. The Brian Herter Autosport team haven't been able to crack the front row here with MMG, Montreal Motorsport Group, and LP Montour on pole position. But at the front of the field, Nate Cicero, who has made a bit of a habit of capturing pole position recently. The blue, black and white number 13, McCumbee McAleer Racing Mustang GT4 in behind our Corvette safety car. Ryan Marine, this one has just got a little more spice in it in both of the classes. 2 stops probably for the GS. We expect that with the GS cars, and as we were hearing in our Countdown to Green programme, it might be because of the nature of this circuit that some of the TCR cars may have to splash towards the end or save fuel at a rate that will make them somewhat susceptible to being passed and have to ease their pace a little bit.
Exactly. If it stays green, there is some fuel jeopardy in the TCR class that we're not used to seeing. And these TCR cars here at Road America are fast. LP Montour, you mentioned him as the pole sitter in TCR. He would have qualified 6th overall with the lap time he was able to put together. Such is the speed of these TCR machines here at Michelin Pilot Challenge. That team is on really good form right now in qualifying. Let's just focus on that. It's their 3rd pole in the last 4 races. LP's got a couple of them. Carl Whitmer also has a pole in that stretch. But as we heard in Countdown to Green, maybe that car sips a little more fuel than the other cars in the TCR class, and you'll better believe the rest of the TCR field will know this. They'll put the pressure on and try and make them burn more fuel than they're comfortable with. That could open up some strategic options for everybody.
Let's recap some of the news with our BDO pit lane reporter, Arjuna Kankapati. It will be only 36 of the 37 cars we were anticipating, Arjuna, with 1 non-starter and also a rather large question mark over the championship leader. What can you tell us?
Well, the one car not starting is the Pan Am Motorsports Toyota, which did not roll out for qualifying yesterday, and we do not see it on the grid either. When we talk about our championship leaders, though, they're looking to rebound after a tough round at the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, where they only finished 9th in a season where previously they had only finished on the podium before that. They had a crash at the end of FP1, which saw the right front of the car damaged, and then at the end of qualifying, after Luca Mars had already put it up into 3rd, they had an incident at the kink, and so they've worked as hard as they can to try and get the car back together, but who will know exactly how well it has been put back together without a shakedown before the race.
So these laps now behind the Corvette pace car as it is now. Safety car, who will see it back out, are super important for the feel of the car with Luca Mars behind the wheel of the number 28. It is not its usual immaculately liveried self. There's 1 or 2 parts on there that they haven't had the time to get the full livery on. The safety car or the pace car lights are out, and it will pull right-handed into the pit lane. We'll put 2 hours on the clock for the Road America 120 for the IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge. If you're trackside, get a little closer to the fence, take a deep breath as we get ready to go racing. If you're further afield, shuffle to the edge of your seat, settle back, get the popcorn in and your favourite beverage. We're about to go racing at America's National Park of Speed. The green flag is in the air, and Nate Cicero hits the right-hand pedal and jumps away in the black and blue. Number 13 immediately to the full racing line. Split start with the number 93 of the Honda team of MMG, the lighter coloured car, and does exactly the same under the auspices of LP Montour. At the front of the field in both classes, it looks a pretty even break. Montour turns in to the first corner, and one of the Astons has shuffled down. That's Paul Holton in the number 46 in the GS field at the exit of turn number 3. So there's the first casualty. That was the car that started in 4th, and he's dropped a whole heap of real estate. And a spinner further back down through the field is David Hampton in the AR Motorsports Porsche, the dark red and black machine. And also there's the championship leader. Excuse me, no it's not, it's the 50, it is the 57 car, but it's Bryce Ward, the Winward Racing Mercedes championship leader, the 57 car in the WeatherTech Championship. And there's big damage to the number 71 Frank Depew of Rebel Rock Racing. That was all at turn 3 and the exit thereof. At the front of the field, Nate Cicero for Ford Mustang has avoided all that by dint of being on pole position and has pulled away by about 10 cars lengths. And Frank Depu's day is over. It looks like Bryce Ward's got damage to the right front. It's the left front of the Aston Martin, but that might just be a tyre for Bryce Ward. He could do with a full course caution now so he doesn't go a lap down. Looks like he's going to lose. Actually, that's the right rear tyre that is looking like it's had some contact damage, but it does just look like the carcass and the wheel rim is still on there. No, I'll take that back. He's got suspension damage. I can see the wheel moving around. Full course yellow, and Bryce comes in to the emergency entry, so he will lose the lap early, but that might be academic, Ryan Marine, because of the seriousness of the damage. So contact towards the back of the field of the GS pack as they were down at turn 3 for the first time.
Well, and Bryce was only back there at the start of this race because they had to go through a chassis change prior to the start of the race. He would have qualified 11th on pure pace, but was moved to the back of his class after qualifying due to that change, and that left him in a vulnerable position. I was wondering about that. They've had a shuffle of that driver lineup too. Philip Ellis has been drafted in, Daniel Morad out of that seat with Winward Racing, so Ellis now doing double duty this weekend in addition to his role with the team in the WeatherTech Championship. But if he gets in this car today, it's going to be well out of contention. As you say, that car with some significant damage. It's taken the cutout to get back to the paddock, but at least it's drivable, which is more than you can say for Frank Depew. That car's stuck on the side of the road.
So Ted Giovannis started right at the back at GS, and from memory, when I did the grid read, I think Frank Depew was 15th or 16th, 16th. So it would appear to me that one or other of them either made or lost positions, and there'll be no pass around, and this is what is turned by IMSA, Ryan, a short yellow, if you can explain that.
Yeah, exactly. Just because, well, normally it would be right after another yellow, then the short yellow procedures would come into play. However, because it's just right after the start of the race, you don't have to go through the full pass-around procedures. You're not going to see the pits open, things of that nature, because we haven't completed a racing lap at this stage. This yellow, though, it does then help to open up that window. We talked about the TCR cars, John, especially perhaps the Hondas we were hearing might be a little bit closer on fuel mileage than some of the others where some additional fuel save would be required. This yellow will be helpful for them just to run a couple of laps because they are long laps under yellow here at Road America. That should help bring them into the window to make it a more traditional one-stop race for the TCR cars.
Yeah, good point. That's a very, very good point. The start, as is standard operational procedure, is under review. I'm still second-guessing myself as to whether Bryce had suspension damage or just a tyre deflation. I think it's the former. I think if it had just been the tyre, he might have tried to struggle around and get back in the pits. The cars involved, well, we know two of them. Frank Depew in the 71 Rebel Rock Racing Aston, the 57 Winward of Bryce Ward. Also involved in that, according to race control, was apparently the number 14.
Yeah, David Hampton, who we did see rejoining the track, and then we got a glimpse of the other two cars off to the side. So evidently all three were involved in that incident there on the first lap.
Unless it was an unsafe rejoin by David, or at least a rejoin part of the way down. But we did see that dark red and black Porsche getting back onto the track for David Hampton. We will make sure that all of the GS cars are ahead of all of the TCR cars. So David Hampton, if he is still running in that AR Motorsports Porsche, which according to the tracker he is, he will get the opportunity to go to the tail of the GS field, and he'll line up behind Ted Giovannis, who is the last car. So, well, not the start we wanted, but plenty of excitement, not necessarily the right type of excitement that we want at the start of the race. And we'll bring you news of that Porsche, Aston and AMG incident investigation as soon as we have it. If you want to get in touch with us here at the Ford Performance Global Broadcast Centre, Ryan and I are on our toes even as we speak. At IMSA Radio is how you get in touch with us on X, or you might still call it Twitter, as I quite often do. So no major changes then in the substantive positions, and certainly not in the important positions. So Nate Cicero led off the line. The biggest change is that Luca Mars got through into second, and therefore the championship leader, with that question mark over the potential setup on that car, which was rebuilt right up to the wire before they ran into the pit lane. But at the moment, Luca Mars says, can we just stay behind this Corvette for the next hour and 52 minutes? He's very happy to be in second place ahead of the BMW, in third of Sean McAllister. That is the number 39 car, which started on the front row. Then Bob Michelin, he's moved up a couple of positions there for Core Motorsport. Then the CSM Porsche, the Turner BMW for Dylan McAvern, Sean Quinlan for Stephen Cameron Racing in the Mustang number 19. Moise Uretsky for the Ibiza Farm Motorsport McLaren. They were three wide at one stage, coming out of turn 3 into the kink at turn 4 before the race was neutralised. So potentially a bit of shuffling of position there. Gordon Scully behind Moise Uretsky. At least he will be on the restart for CSM Porsche. The top 10 is completed by Austin Krantz, with Chris Miller for Unitronic just outside the top 10 in 11th. It will be the MMG Honda Civic of LP Montour, who's making a little bit of a gap, and I think that's very smart indeed, ahead of Precision's Audi and Thelfo Neto. Then the two Hyundai Elantras of Mason Filippi and Mark Wilkins, so they've swapped around as well. Luke Rumberg and Eric Powell for RVA Graphics Audi and the Victor Gonzalez Racing Cupra. So Eric's gone up a little bit. Lance Bergstein's also got ahead of Eduardo Go in the bright orange Cupra Leon. Two Cupras in this race for the first time. And the top 10 made up by the Hyundai of Preston Brown and the Hart Honda Civic, the red, white and black machine of Tyler Chambers. So a couple of detail changes there. One or two positions made up by a couple of teams and drivers, but nobody really getting into the flow of the race. The best view in the house is from Nate Cicero and Jensen Oldsman's car, the GT4 leader, the GS leader, sitting in behind what is now the safety car. And we wait to hear from race control whether that will come in, and race control telling us that that three-car incident at turn 3 between Porsche number 14, the 71 Aston Martin and the 57 AMG has been reviewed, and the evidence is inconclusive. So no one is getting a penalty there. Wherever you are around the circuit, thank you for being with us. Thank you for supporting IMSA. And thank you for your support down through the years, your loyalty, your enthusiasm, your knowledge. And the news is that you have been rewarded next year with a 6-hour race for the IMSA WeatherTech SportsCar Championship here on the hallowed ground, the 4 miles that is Road America at Elkhart Lake. An hour and 49 minutes and 36 to go. We're back under green, and Nate Cicero jumps away on this super long run out of turn 14 down towards the first corner again. That's a lovely restart, and indeed it's Sean McAllister from Carbon who pulls out the line, trying to get down the inside of the RS1 Porsche, or maybe he was defending from Bob Michelin for Core Motorsports in 4th position. The black-fronted Mustang with the red and white side panels. Then behind that, it's the CSM Porsche, the Turner BMW. Sean Quinlan right in there as well. The second of the CSM Porsches going through there. So a nice restart, and everybody's played well together in TCR. LP Montour got past Team TGM's Ted Giovannis, who must have been struggling up the hill. And Stelfo Neto still in second for precision. Now we are getting a couple of penalties here from, I think, the original start for at least one of them, and TGM's Paul Holton, who was shuffled down the field, if you remember, in the Aston Martin at that schmozzle at the exit of turn 3. Well, Paul Holton changed lanes before the start line. That will be a costly drive-through. He won't lose a lap here because it is such a long lap. And also a pass under yellow, which is a very big no-no for Lance Bergstein, for Brian Hertner Autosport, the number 18, 7th position TCR car. Both of those a drive-through. It's a long pit lane here, and you'd lose quite a bit of time. But as I said, Ryan Marine, that is unlikely to drop them a full lap, but it is going to take them out of contention for now.
For sure. 39 seconds, I'm told, is the transit time down the pit lane here at Road America, one of the longer pit lanes you'll find anywhere on the calendar. Man, what a season of woe it has been for Paul Holton and Matt Plum. Matt, of course, the champion a year ago. Paul drove all bar one of the races as his co-driver last year, so that's why he wasn't a champion alongside as he pulls off now to take that drive-through penalty. But they've really struggled to back up that title-winning form. And we got a car off in the gravel trap.
Oh, it's the Victor Gonzalez Racing Cupra. First time I've seen their livery this weekend, but it's not the orange one, so it has to be them in the battleship grey colours. And that is at the first corner, and he's well dug into the beach. I think that's going to bring another safety car, unless the front-wheel drive car can power its way out. Now, this is great news for Paul Holton, who's just taken his penalty. Now, there'll be a question. Well, no, we're still in green. And also, good news as well for the number 18 TCR car, Lance Bergstein, who pitted. And Mason Felipe pitted as well. Actually, I'm maybe wrong there. That's turn 14. My apologies. Another large area of gravel and beach. And there was, well, that is Mason Felipe that he was tangled up with going in. That's why Mason Felipe has come straight into the pit lane, as Felipe absolutely sideswipes the number 99. I'm not sure what was going on there. Looks like there might be a left rear puncture to the Hyundai. Now, whether that was cause or effect, as he was turning right-handed into turn number 14. Well, more incidents, more work for our race control decision makers, whilst we get back behind the Chevrolet Corvette safety car. Let's head down for a BDO pit lane report with Arjuna.
And a quick catch up with a car that we were wondering about on fuel. Your main competitor was saying they felt a bit more comfortable with the fuel number. Did these couple of cautions help you out?
Absolutely. 58, 56 minutes again, same as Mosport. DOB is really good. IMSA's done a really good job. So these help, of course. We can get LP past the 60-minute mark, and then I don't have to fuel save, and that's a finishing driver's dream. So.
I know Daytona wasn't the easiest start to the season for MMG, but both Carl Whitmer, yourself, and LP Montour have been really, really good in getting to the front of the field, consistent in terms of qualifying, consistent in terms of the race results. How did you turn it around?
We really found a way to get on top of this package. We run it quite loose. We're comfortable in the car, even though others might feel uncomfortable in our type of setup. So, we have fun with it. LP's really good. He's going to do another big stint here. Save a little bit of fuel so I don't have to, and then I'm a happy driver.
You heard it, John. The number is 56 to 58 minutes. I continue to get answers that I would never have expected to get.
There you go. Thank you very much to Arjuna for that BDO pit lane report. Manna from heaven for all of those TCR cars who were slightly marginal. We've also got Moisey. No, we haven't. I would thought he just popped into the pits there, but that's just the transponder catching up. It will surprise nobody, Ryan, to know that the incident between the Hyundai and the new Cupra is under review. Oh,
that was a really strange one.
Winwood. Yeah, and Winwood are back from behind the wall. That was a quick fix.
That's great news for them. I just saw that message pop up as well. So it looks like they have lost 4 or 5 laps. It's going to be difficult to overcome that in any kind of meaningful way, but they'll try and salvage what they can. And if nothing else, it's seat time and just some more practice for them and the team. But back to that incident, that was a really strange one. Mason Filippi, really solid driver, and up the inside there of Eric Powell. And Eric, I don't know that he could have expected that car to appear the way that it did. It sent him on a wild ride, and they ended up buried in the sand trap. And this is the first weekend, remember, for VGRT with the Cupra. They lost significant running in practice 1. Tyler Gonzalez had an issue early on in that session, so they're really short on run time in that car. There are a lot of things that they're learning about that car, and they're having to do it mid-season, which is never the easiest thing. So this is not the kind of setback that they can really deal with at this stage. They're trying to get up to speed as quickly as possible, but they're drinking from the fire hose.
I announced that Bryce Ward was back in the pit lane before he actually was, because he didn't enter the pit lane until the pits were declared open for GS. So they're doing a full 4-tyre stop and topping off the tank. Now, he's 4 laps down, but he's going to get out. He's going to get one of those laps back immediately. That is really, really great thinking from the Winwood team. If he'd come straight onto pit lane whilst the pits were closed, they wouldn't have been able to work on the car, and he would have had to go straight through and come in with everybody else. Now he's half a lap ahead or half a lap behind, it doesn't really matter, but he will get out ahead of everybody else who's about to pit, if anybody else pits behind the safety car. And let's have a quick word with Arjuna, who's been speaking to Winwood Racing about the damage to that car.
I was trying to take a look, John, over the wall at the extent of the damage, and it didn't look visually so bad from the angle that I had, but a quick word with Philip Allison, he was saying significant damage. So let's see what they're going to be able to recover from this sort of a race. It might end up being a somewhat extended test session for the Winwood Racing number 57.
Hello to Kevin Payne, who's tuned in and tweeting to us at IMSA Radio. And also to Blur Fiend, not working today, tuned in having some mid-afternoon coffee with the race, with his Porsche Experience Centre Atlanta matte black mug. Very, very swish indeed. Brian, watching and listening from Rosewood, Kentucky. The Mustangs look spectacular today, hoping for a great race. Thank you for your kind comments. Join the conversation at IMSA Radio. That'll bring you straight through to the For Performance Global Broadcast Centre. We're about halfway through the stint length for the mandatory stint length for the non-pro drivers, and we do have some takers down the pit lane. They're led in by Dylan McAvern for Turner Motorsport. Arjuna Kangapati is watching round about half a dozen or 10 of the GS cars coming into the pit lane.
And I think, John, this is perfect when it comes to the fuel game, because these early cautions, yes, will help you extend your stint a little bit, but what you can do right now if you're slightly further down the field is fill the car up with fuel and extend your next pit stop to beyond the 60-minute mark. And much like Carl Whitmer was saying, minimize the amount of fuel saving that you have to do. I've wandered over to the 96 where they are doing tires, and it looks like sticker Michelin's going off as the McLaren fires off and away. Couldn't see if there was tires for them though.
An interesting message on the screen from race control here. The Bryce Ward entered a closed pit. However, I saw that the pits were open from race control at 22 minutes and 4 seconds past the hour, and then the next message at 22 minutes and 17 was that Bryce Ward had entered the pits. So there's a bit of a disconnect there. We'll wait for that to be explained. They did hold him before he came into the pits. So interesting which one of those is right. It said he was back from behind the wall, but I don't think he came into the live pit lane until about 13 seconds after the pits were open, according to what is on the race control channel. Pits have opened, by the way, for TCR. Cars that pitted then from GS, and this will become important, they will cycle through to ahead of the TCRs after they've pitted. So we have got David Hampton in the number 17 Porsche, who's one of the cars in that fracas early on. Lance Bergstein, oh, that's a TCR car, forget that. So let me go down to the GS. Rafa Martinez in the Toyota. Paul Holton in the 46 Aston Martin. Christine Sloss in the 15 Aston Martin. And Bryce Ward has done a pit stop, although he's not, just to continue the confusion, he's not shown as having done a pit stop, but obviously he has. He came back from behind the wall into the pits. At the front of the field, Nate Cicero will bring the cars back round to green in a moment or two's time, but we will have to do the GS split. The incident involving those two cars, the TCRs, with just an absolute body slam, hip and shoulder from Mason Filippi into the new for this race at TCR. The Eric Powell driven Victor Gonzalez racing team. It's really unfortunate for them. Didn't even get really to do a green flag lap. Here are the TCRs coming into the pit lane. Arjuna Kankapati is there to wave at them and welcome them in.
I'm looking up and down pit lane, and not only do I see the fuel hoses ready to go, but sticker Michelin tires for these TCR machines. And so the expectation, John, is that it will be front Michelin tires only. Remember, TCR cars, front wheel drive, you steer and you put the power down, and the fronts take a lot more of an impact. No tires going on to the Precision Racing number 7, but in front of me, the 33, the Brian Herter Autosport team, that's got an extra car running this weekend. Let's not forget, they've added the 18 to the stable. 5 BHA machines out on track this weekend. Sticker tires for them, but I've already seen the 31, a very good stop for that machine as it rolls off and away. It beats Precision Racing LA out of the pit lane as well in the race off and away.
A lot of fuel going into some of these cars as out goes Hyundai number 76 for Preston Brown. He stayed in the car because minimum driver time has not yet been made. Jake Parrott is on Interstate 5 in California. Hello. He says the pictures are better on the radio. Thank you, Jake. Drive carefully. Hello to Carol Brink, also in California, waving from Monterey. And hello to Kevin, her husband, who's just got back home from a busy week out in the desert. Nice to know that you're relaxing appropriately and listening to us on RS2. Wherever you are in the world, you are very, very welcome to our coverage. CJ McSweeney in Ottawa, cheering on Ron and Megan Tomlinson from Precision Racing. So as we stand at the moment, RS1 in second place still lead the championship. It's really good news for them, Ryan, because they have had a chance to get Luca Mars to check out that car. Harry Gottsacker on his own, 40 points ahead of the MMG duo. Just 10 points further back, the DuPont Brown pairing. So things very tight indeed in TCR. But good news for the championship leaders in GS. because they have at least given Luke Mars the chance to wiggle that car around a bit and find out if it's set up to his liking.
Yeah, we've not done a full racing lap yet, but I would think by this point he would have a pretty good sense if something was amiss. And if that were to be the case, I would think they would have called him in under the yellow. So the fact that they've left him out on track would be indicative that they feel confident that the repairs have taken the way that they were hoping for. It was a great start from Luca to grab second place right off the jump into turn number 1, so he showed no lack of confidence in the repairs and in his team there at the start of the race. I'm very intrigued, though, John, strategically by the fact that the majority of the TCR field elected to pit. We talked earlier that because of the nature of this track, we might see a two-stop strategy be more viable than it usually is, and all barring the top 3 seem to agree with that. Montour, Go, and Chambers all staying out under this yellow. Everyone else has pitted at least once. The kind of fly in the ointment there is Mason Filippi, who pitted right after the incident, so didn't pit under the yellow and therefore cycles up to 4th, but that incident still is under review. Meanwhile, it's pretty split in GS about these pit stops and who is pitted when and if they elected to come in under this yellow. And actually, it looks like maybe a few others are electing to pit later in this yellow sequence, possibly to help extend that window slightly.
Yeah, I wonder if somebody will just jump in off the back and decide to splash. Certainly if you are in the position of Winward, and that's exactly what they've done. The number 57 AMG into the pits and topped off again. We'll get all the GS cars cycling to the front now. Quick hello to Sam Baker. Wish we were out on track, he said, but happy to enjoy the IMSA radio broadcast. Thanks for the kind words, Sam. Hope to see you back and the rest of the family team out in Michelin Pilot Challenge. Love seeing you guys compete. Exactly the spirit of IMSA racing, and hopefully we'll see you back again trackside. Best to everybody there, Sam, at IMSA Radio if you want to get in touch. So we've taken up half an hour and not yet had a full green flag lap of racing, thanks to the incidents and the clean-up. Absolutely nothing that race control could have done other than what they did do. Let's have a quick word with Jensen Altsman. His teammate Nate Cicero qualified on pole, and he's coming back to the green flag this time around in pole position. They stayed out. What's the thinking there?
Tell us, Jensen, what is the thinking strategically here at Road America for a 2-hour sprint race?
Yeah, well, we just want a good race car at the end. So didn't really see a need to pit there. Want to kind of see where our balance is. We think we're pretty happy. Just let Nate go out and do his thing, get some laps in.
How impressive was his qualifying yesterday? Because that's 2 pole positions in a row now for him.
It was impressive. One thing that I've always thought from the first time I drove with Nate is he can get in any car, no matter what it is really, and he's going to be pretty quick right away. It's an attribute that I look up to. I want to learn how he does that so quick. It's pretty awesome. But it's great to see that him come in, and obviously he's going to drive with the team very well, but just getting used to the Mustang GT4 and all the support we get from Ford Performance and Multimatic.
Thanks, Jensen.
Jensen Altsman, who was one of the Ford Performance Junior team members who was across at Le Mans for the Le Mans Invitational Mustang Challenge. What an event that was. His teammate relaxed. Full-faced visored helmet, but will drive with the visor up until and unless he gets the sun in his eyes. Coming back to green, so it's under the control of Nate Cicero now. Jensen Altsman will be glued to the TV screen, to the pit lane. He just lifted off for a moment there as they were coming into the 14th and final corner, and then nailed it, and has again pulled out 2-3 cars lengths over Luke Marsalis this time as he comes across the line and down towards turn 1. It is an inordinately long run, so you will get a bit of slipstream effect. Luke Mars just pulling in the middle of the road down the inside. Here comes the BMW. That's the Carbon with Peregrine M4 of Sean McAllister And he's up into third position. Rob McKillian in fourth. CSM. And Nikita Lastorchin in fifth as he went across the line in TCR. LP Montour. Eduardo Gore in second place, but has not made a pit stop. And Tyler Chambers, see above comment. They are playing the tactical game very early on here as we've got battles down towards turn 5. But that is a really, wow, that's a long way back for the BMW number 4 of Steve Wettrow, who's made up at least one, possibly two positions there. Certainly got Ted Giovannis. That's a really interesting call for those two TCR cars. Back to that in a moment. The number 98, that is the Hyundai of Mason Filippi, will have to come through the pit lane. Tyler with the Mason Filippi, excuse me, with the incident responsibility. Stop and 60 actually. So that's a stop and 60-second hold for avoidable contact. And the pit stops always seem to throw up some issues. And we've also got a stop, or at least a drive-through. That is for the number 5, William Talley, Dr. William Talley's Honda. They were over the wall before he stopped. And the number 7 as well. And that Theltho Neto for Precision Racing. That's a drive-through. And a stop plus 60 for the 57 Winward car, more than emergency service in a closed pit. Frank Depew, remarkably, is back out on the track apparently. And now once again, we've got the Porsche number 16 going slowly. My goodness me, Ryan Marine, we can't keep up with all of the incidents. So that this is the number 16 red, white and black Porsche this time that's had an issue, and I think there was some contact there with the Ibiza Farms McLaren that may have done some suspension damage.
It looked like it was very close for sure between the two. I don't know if that was Uretsky just trying to get out of the way of a slowing car that had trouble, or if they made contact and that's where the trouble came. But Harrison Goodman has, it's going to be a difficult situation for him as he's limping that car around. 3 TCR cars now limping down the pit lane, all serving various penalties that you mentioned. The Mason Filippi one is the most serious of those penalties for the contact with Eric Powell, but the Celso Neto penalty, John, I think a really important one, because that's the car that qualified on the outside of the front row in class. We heard from Ryan Eversley off the top. He was feeling pretty confident about their chances, but this is a big setback for them here with just under an hour and a half to go.
Stopwatches are out for the stop and 60-second hold. 2 cars for that, the Hyundai and the AMG number 57 behind as well, as we have managed to get that Porsche back into the pit lane for Harrison Goodman for CSM. He joins Mason Filippi and Bryce Ward, who are already there and counting down. That must seem a very, very long time to be sitting doing nothing. You also get quite hot and bothered in a racing car when you're not moving forward, because there's not a lot of airflow through those cars. 3rd in the points as they run as well for that Hyundai. Let's go to a BDO pit lane report as Harrison has got into the pit lane. Harrison Goodman for CSM. Damage on that Porsche, Arjuna?
The left rear is dangling a little bit more precariously than you'd want for a tire that's responsible for putting down a 300, 400 horsepower onto the surface of the track, and they've actually waved over the IMSA staff, so I think they're probably just talking about what they will need to do to fix this, John. Obviously, you can't send a car back out that's not up to the technical regulations, so they're just making sure they can fix it in the correct way. I'll try and get an update for you. I can see Zach Veach standing by just in case they're going to do their driver change and get that car back out.
Fair play to Rebel Rock Racing and to Frank Depew, Robin Liddell and the rest of the team. That Aston Martin that looked to me done for the day, Ryan Marine, he's back out on the track. It's 9 laps down. Let's, make no bones about that. 34 minutes in the pit lane. But my goodness me, that is the spirit of endurance racing. That car back out on the track.
Took the words out of my mouth. Spirit of endurance racing is exactly what I was thinking as you were describing that situation. On track, though, the battles continue to be fierce. Moisey Uretsky just gave up a spot. I think that would have been to Dylan McIvern. It was for 12th overall, 12th in the GS class. So those positions changing hands there. But what an unfortunate set of circumstances for CSM and Harrison Goodman. They had to miss the race at CT&P after an incident there. The bright side, though, is the rest of that team is having a banner weekend. They had 2 cars qualifying inside the top 10, and Nikita Lastishkin right now is running a solid 5th, and he's been there all race long, really, since he got a pretty good start to this race. Gordon Scully in the sister car for CSM in 7th. This is the best showing, I think, across the board that they've had, despite the misfortune for Goodman.
Yeah, good driving by Lastoshin, who has stayed out of trouble. Work going on to the left rear of that GT4 Porsche for CSM in the great red, white and black colour scheme. It's not going to be a quick fix, I don't think. They've got some tools out there now. 2 mechanics underneath the back of there. Meantime, what a run for Go Racing and Eduardo Go, the pioneers of the Cupra Leon in this championship. Here's a BDO pit lane report from that area of the pit lane from Arjuna.
He was just about to get his helmet on and get ready as we get close to that drive time completion for the first drivers. But it's great to see the Go Racing team back. What was the issue that kept you from competing at CTMP?
So obviously after Watkins Glen, we had a pretty good result. We finished 2nd, but unfortunately an issue in tech didn't allow us to actually keep the position. So we had some talks with Cupra. We had to have some modifications done, and it meant that unfortunately we had to miss CTMP, but we're back. We fixed the track width issue, and we're glad that my dad's running well, and hopefully we'll get another good result here in Road America.
What's it like to race in a family operation like this? Because the performance at Watkins Glen was clear, and hopefully the performance continues now that you made those modifications on the car.
Well, from the very beginning, we said this is going to be for fun. This is a hobby, and the first thing that our first goal was to obviously have fun. But now, after a year of racing, we're finally being a little bit more competitive, and that's obviously a bit more fun when you're running up front.
Is it helpful to now have another Cupra join the championship with Victor Gonzalez Racing Team picking theirs up for this weekend?
Of course, I think it's always good to have more cars. We're able to compare ourselves to other cars of the same manufacturer, and obviously it pushes our bar a little bit further up since we want to be the best Cupra on the field.
Best of luck for the rest of the race.
I really appreciate it. Thank you.
So we are starting to see some movement on the wall, and drivers, as we get closer to that 40 minutes, the thing to remember here, and let's hope the teams do remember this, if you've been down the pit lane already, your pit lane time does not count for your drive time. And that doesn't affect the top 8 in GS, but I suspect they'll be staying out. This is more going to be the TCR runners and a spin at Canada Corner. Couple of cars involved, and that is the number 30, the red, white and black car. Oh, and the Ibiza Farms McLaren is in there as well. So this now, Nate Cicero's just gone across the line. So the LAP Mustang involved there, and the Ibiza Farms McLaren has stopped. Now, what is that going to be restarted? It looks like it's had some damage to the front. Let's see, it was Scott Thompson in the LAP Motorsports Mustang. Moisey Uretsky, I think we decided had started the McLaren. Well, that car's dead stick, no noise whatsoever. Untidy start to this race. McLaren down the outside and, yeah, hit the Thompson LAP Mustang. Pits remain closed as we once again will neutralise the race. Well, Ryan, this is unfortunate because nobody is getting any kind of rhythm built up here with our third full course caution in just 13 laps.
It's also unfortunate because it's a short yellow coming right on the heels of the last yellow, and we are right at the point where minimum drive time has elapsed. And so this is ideally when teams would normally like to see a yellow. It just doesn't come. It comes in too close a proximity to the last full course yellow, so we won't have that full pit sequence. It looks like the day is done, though, for Moise Uretsky. He's climbing out of that McLaren. The season started with so much promise, John. They got the win at Daytona, had another top 10 run at Sebring, and along the way have had more strong performances, just not necessarily finishes. Outside of a 4th at Mid-Ohio, they were 6th at CTMP, but a front-running event really ended up on the back foot at Laguna Seca. They ended up 22nd. Similar story in Watkins Glen, where they ended up 18th despite running toward the front. 6th in points at a distant 6th, it must be said. Not the way that they envisioned the season going after getting that great start to the year in Daytona.
Another spin for Scott Thompson, who was the other car involved. I think you can blame Scott for that one. Moise a little bit ambitious coming down the inside and just run out of space, hit the right-hand side door of the Mustang. Scott's just had another spin coming out of turn number 6 and into 7. He's pointing in the right direction. I do wonder, though, how quickly pit's closed, the red light on driver's right just coming out of turn 14, telling everybody that. I just wonder, though, Ryan, if you do want to change your driver, and particularly if you've been one of the TCR cars who just splashed, do you then come in straight off the end of the full course yellow whilst the field is still bunched up? You won't need a lot of fuel, you've just put new tyres on, and you just change the driver and send the car from then.
It's worth considering. I would say maybe a counterpoint would be because you've just topped off and you don't need that much fuel, you're going to be waiting on the driver change, and normally you'd want to be waiting on the fuel if you follow. The other aspect of this is we've had so much safety car running here in the first hour that it should be pretty feasible for both classes, I would think. Certainly in TCR, even GS should be creeping close to it to make this a one-stop race. And if you pit as soon as we restart, there shouldn't be a long cleanup here. You're outside of that window to make it in one stop. So these are some of the things that the teams will be balancing. I guess it depends on how much faith you have in the driver in the car to turn good lap times. If there is a big pace disparity between your drivers and you've got the faster driver waiting in the wings, then maybe you do try and get that change done earlier rather than later, and you deal with that extra pit stop as it comes, knowing it will be shorter than the single pit stop of the other drivers. But anyway, there's a lot of different permutations to this.
Totally. Moise Uretsky into the Porsche Cayenne S rapid response vehicle, and he's on his way back in a bit of comfort to the pit lane. All the new Cayenne S is back with the V8 engine since last year, actually, since the 2024 model year. And what a great noise they make as well. Just scanning up and down as we are getting ready to prepare. In fact, we're starting the class split again. Just trying to work out where we are and who might do what. LP, let's take TCR because that's the one that we were sort of mulling over. LP Montour now, having not stopped, still leads. Eduardo Gore, having not stopped, is in second. Luke Rumberg for RVA Graphics, third different manufacturer, Honda, Cupra, Audi in third. Fourth, another Honda, and that's the Tyler Chambers Hart run car, the red, white and black car. First car that has stopped is Mark Wilkins in the 33 Hyundai Elantra. Lance Bergstein's been through the pitch twice. I think one of those was a drive-through, wasn't it? Preston Brown's been through once, so everybody beyond that's been through the pit once. So it's just those top 4 who've yet to stop. And we are well over the 45 minutes in terms of driver time for both of the classes. It's not quite as clear-cut in GS, where the first car that has stopped, let me do it that way around, is the car-barn BMW number 4 of Steve Wetterau. The number 4 car sitting in 9th position. Dylan McAvern for Turner. They're sort of doing a sort of a split strategy, I think. Oh, no, actually, I'm wrong. Both of their cars have stopped. Dylan stopped and he's in 10th. Chris Miller for Unitronic and Porsche in the 17 car, GDC Run Cup. And then Matt Dalton for Turner and Paul Hulton. They've all been through the pit lane at least once. Drive-through penalty then for incident responsibility. Well, it'll have to be driven through on the back of the tow truck for the Ibiza Farms McLaren. And you might be sitting at Canada Corner. Hello to you all there, I can see you. Enjoying the sunshine and the 26 Celsius, or if you prefer 79 Fahrenheit. You might be thinking, what is the point of issuing a drive-through for that incident with the LAP Mustang? The point is that it tells the rest of the pit lane exactly what is and isn't acceptable. And that was unacceptable driving standards. It has been penalised. The team knows, the driver knows, and importantly everybody else knows up and down the pit lane as well. Ryan Mareed, just before we come back to you, we'll go down to Arjuna for a BDO pit lane report on Victor Gonzalez Racing. Not the outing they wanted for the debut of that dark grey Cupra for their first time out.
No, and unfortunately their garage is quite a trek away from the pit lane, so I wasn't able to run down there. However, I was able to catch up with one of their crew members on the wall. Bit too much damage for them to get it fixed up and send it out today, but John, they only got this car a week ago, so they haven't had a chance to shake it down before this weekend. And they were relatively quickly on the pace and learning all about the intricacies of this new machine. So I think for Victor Gonzalez Racing, the rest of 2025 is going to continue being a learning experience with the car, and hopefully we'll see them next year fighting for the title at the very front.
Had a good crawl over the Cupra when it first appeared at the back end of last year. And it is a very sophisticated machine. Each of the iterations of the TCR cars have become more and more sophisticated. They are all very aerodynamically efficient. The whole bodywork provides downforce. They're not actually that draggy. They're very good through twisty circuits. The biggest thing that I noticed from the previous version, and it shares the platform with the previous model TCRs from VW with the Golf, the Audi RS3 LMS, which is the saloon car as well, of course. And the biggest thing that I noticed was the way the rear anti-roll bar fits through the car. It used to have to bend around the suspension turrets. It no longer does that. It's a dead straight bar, and there's just 2 clips, one either end. So if you want to make an adjustment, or indeed put in a thicker or a thinner roll bar, anti-roll bar at the back, you basically just unclip one circlip and pull it out from the other side with the rear wheels off. It's a really well thought out piece of engineering. And the guys at Cupra Sport, who actually have always made all of the VAG cars, so the Audis were built there as well, and the Golfs when they were running. They've thought about this. And a little off behind the safety car for Megan Tomlinson for Precision Racing, who had her support tweeting into us earlier on. Hello to Gareth Evans, who's watching and listening, and also to Jeff Whitmore, who's up in southern Ontario. And thank you for tuning in. Good to know you're there. Safety car lights are out. Shall we try this again? Nate Cicero will be nailing these starts. He's had plenty of practice. This time, Luke Lamar's right up his tailpipes as they go through the final corner. But it looked like Nate did press the go button quite early. Pit stop. I wondered if anybody would do this. And we're getting some of the GS cars that have not stopped coming in the pit lane. Austin Krantz for Autotechnic Racing. Also Unitronic, Turner with Matt Dalton in the 96 car, Team TGM and AR Motorsports all taking their first drivers out, and they're doing it at the first possible opportunity. They should be able to get out without losing a lap, and they are now gambling on another safety car or no safety cars at all, where everybody else has got to make longer stops. With an hour and 8 minutes remaining, they can't go to the end from here, but at least they're giving it a go and trying something different and putting their gun drivers in with 51 minutes gone, an hour and 9 remaining. This is the strategic call that we wondered that would happen, and there's a whole bunch of TCRs that have done exactly the same thing. Brian Hurd at Autosport number 33 from Mark Wilkins, Mason Filippi, Megan Thompson we mentioned into the pits as well. They're rolling the dice tactically here, Ryan Marine.
Yeah, exactly. This is too soon to try and make it to the end. I would have to believe an hour and 8 minutes would be a lot to ask from anybody to try and make it on this being the final stop without there being some full course yellow, which we've had plenty of in this race here so far. So these cars now are really well positioned. If we should get a yellow before the pit sequence has gone all the way through, they would cycle through to the front and then hopefully be in good shape on fuel mileage. But that's the gamble that they are taking.
Arjun is down in the pit lane. We'll go to a BDO pit lane report in a moment or two once the pit lanes have cleared, and he can tell us if there were any problems down there in the pit lane, with plenty of action going on at the front of the field. Canada corner, BMW versus BMWs for 8th position now. Steve Wetterau and Dylan McIvern, they've made their first stop. Still the top 7 yet to visit the pit lane. Here comes our leader, round turn 14, stays out this time around. They'll run now until over an hour, I would think. Expect them to get into the second hour of the race. And I say that, and into the pit lane for 2 penalties. 2 drive-throughs. This is the CSM number 16. It was a refueling on stands and tyre without crew. 2 drive-throughs for the CSM car. There's going to be a heck of a battle going on at the tail end of the GS field between Bryce Ward, Winwood, Frank Depew, Rebel Rock Racing, and that CSM racing car for who could not be last. And there's a touch between the 2 BMWs in turn 3 again. And it is the number 4 of Steve Wetterau who comes off the worst. Dylan McIvern sticking his nose in where it certainly wasn't wanted, and onto the lush green grass for the green and dark grey number 4, and that is a huge amount of time that's been lost there for the carbon car. Ryan.
Oh, wow, that is heartbreaking as well for them, and then for McIvern, who appeared to be in there a little bit aggressively. A fringe championship contender at this late stage in the season. If a penalty should come their way, that would put them in a difficult position for sure. I think that we're going to see strategically here is if you've got track position, you probably don't want to pit until you're comfortably inside of your window to go the rest of the way. Those that are down on track position might take the gamble. For the Hart team that just called in their Civic, they might think that they can go 65.5 minutes to the end. Yes. That would be interesting, though, considering we've been told that the Hondas have a bit more difficulty on fuel than some of the other brands here at Road America, at least, but they must feel like they are close enough that they're willing to call him in here at 65 minutes to go.
The gunslinger, Chad Gilsinger, behind the wheel. He knows how to drive fast and he knows how to save fuel. At the moment, they've rolled the dice. Still no pit stop for our leader in TCR, who has about a second on Luke Rumberg in the Audi in second. He has been down the pit lane. And Brian Hurd at Autosport for Hyundai in third. And Lank Bergstein has also done the pit stop. Eddie Goh has not, and has dropped a couple of positions off that restart, but still sits in 4th. they're getting very close to be able to come in once. And no surprises to me to see that the Turner Motorsport number 95 and Dylan McIvern is going to get the drive through for that contact with the grey and green number 4 turn 3, where the number 4 is right at the moment on the circuit. Now, one of our championship leaders, Luca Mars, is still out there, has not pitted, still the top 7 down to Gordon Scully for the other CSM Porsche, have not stopped. And this is what Ryan McIvern, I've just called you now, Ryan Marine, was alluding to there, that now that they've made their bed, they've kind of got to lie in it and get past the hour mark, as in comes the 95 car. And this is the other BMW from Turner, the yellow, mostly yellow car. Also coming in just before the hour mark is the Carbon car. Second time down the pit lane. So what this tells me, Ryan Marine, is that they think they can go an hour and 3 minutes or whatever it is when they come back out, or they feel that there's a great likelihood of there being some more yellow. This is perhaps not as much of a gamble as the cars that stopped 2 or 3 laps ago.
Exactly. Remember, a lap here at Road America is a lot longer than your average lap on the Michelin Pilot Challenge schedule. 4 miles plus around here. And you have to remember, too, that the last bit of it is uphill. So if you are struggling on fuel on that final lap and you have to make it uphill, then you could be in some trouble. 95 behind the wall, John.
Yeah, it's Turner Motorsport. Dylan McIvern brought the car in. Looked like a normal pit stop, but they have just gone in behind the wall. I suspect there's some left front damage from that impact with the similar car of Carbon that's also had them assessed for a penalty. So they still haven't done their drive-through. They'll have to do that again. Something at the left front suspension broken is what is being talked about in the team. So their day goes from worse to worser. I know. IMSA Radio and TV together, Full Performance Global Broadcast Centre. It's coming up to half distance, 2 minutes away from half distance. And it's been a stop-start, a rather difficult race for everybody. Difficult for them to get into, the drivers and the teams to get in any kind of rhythm. But as it stands, Nate Cicero from pole leads by over 2 seconds. Yeah, the left front mechanic on the Turner 95 car makes the universal sign of let's go and get some food. The hand across the throat. It's all over. Time for tacos. Actually, they only get tacos when they win at Turner. So no tacos this Saturday. The car that was involved, the other car involved in the incident, still circulating. Cameron Shields now behind the wheel of the Carbon number 4 car in 27th and 17th overall. And they just dropped off the lead lap. I think they have. But right now, strategy is all over the place. Absolutely all over the place. Still waiting for the leaders to come in. And they've now got to the hour mark. So this should mean little or no fuel saving in the second half of the race. I was just about to say Luca Mars has been caught by Sean McAllister, but it's the other CSM car. Would you believe it? What a horrible day for them. Gordon Scully's gone off in the kink, and this will be a full course yellow. Now, my goodness me. Nate Cicero has pitted. Did he get in before the pits were closed, or did he have no choice? Is he running out of fuel? 5 seconds of fuel and send him. We'll soon know. Ryan.
I don't think so. He should be just fine on fuel. According to the timing and scoring, he came in 5 seconds after full course yellow was announced. So This is going to be really interesting.
Wait a minute. Ryan, he could have been committed to the pit lane.
True.
He could have been committed to the pit lane because it's such a long run up. I think he'll get away with this. Let's go down to Arjuna Kankapati for a BDO pit lane report. This is certainly not emergency service, Arjuna.
No, it's a full service. Out gets Nate Cicero. Jensen Altzman has jumped in, and the final sticker Michelin tires are going onto the car right now. John, this almost worked out perfectly because MMG, I saw them actually getting ready to bring their driver in the next couple of laps as well. If this has worked out for Macombi McAleer Racing, it could be a genius strategic call, and our Michelin moment of the race, burnout from Altzman as he fires himself off.
Yeah, it is a very long way from the pit commit to when you see the cars actually cross the in the pit pylon. Now, he's out of the pit lane. Where is the safety car? Safety car is down at the carousel. The first car behind it at the moment is, I think, the number 37 of Ron Tomlinson in the precision racing car, taken on from Megan, 13th at TCR. There will be no pass around, say race control. So Jensen Altzman with 58 minutes to go, negligible amount of fuel save, if any at all, because this is not going to be the work of a moment, Ryan Marine, to clean up that CSM Porsche down in the kink.
Yeah, if they were in and committed in time, then they just pulled a blinder on everybody. The risk that we were talking about earlier by not pitting as soon as the window opened, or if you were even on the fringe of the window, is this full course yellow. This is really bad news for RS1, for Carbon, for Corv, for CSM with Nikita Lastishkin, for Stephen Cameron Racing with Sean Quinlan. Those cars in the top 5 have not pitted. Everyone who has will cycle ahead of them when they do make their stop. It would have been a stroke of fortune if indeed Cicero was committed to the pit lane when that yellow came out. They would have been in the right place in the right time and would deserve all the credit for making some really quick adjustments on the fly to get that car to the pit lane. To take advantage of it, but it has to be marginal. You say it is a long commitment lane, and it is, but is it a 5-second long commitment lane? It's tight. So we'll wait word from race control to see whether or not they got in time. If they did, then they're sitting pretty, but if not, they could be in some trouble.
That was a very nasty incident for that CSM Porsche. Gordon Scully, number 67 car. We do have the guys and ladies of our EMR safety crew already there. Pits has opened for GS, so let's see what takers we have. The top 5 cars have not yet been to pit lane, but now they are. I would expect a few more of the GS cars to come in as well. Rafa Martinez coming in. In fact, all of the top GS cars have come in. Everybody down to 9th position. So some of these will just be topping off and will be away quickly. But cars like RS1, Arjuna, are going to be standing for a long time because they've got a lot more fuel to go in than the guys that splashed a few laps ago.
Absolutely, and this has really turned the race on its head. What was seemingly being a very stop-and-start race, activity thrown into life on pit lane. The 13 is back in, John, so clearly they were still that marginal number on fuel that they didn't feel comfortable without the splash and dash. I'm going to be very curious how far RS1 fall through this pit sequence, because it's not even 5 seconds in the stop for the 13 before Jensen Altzman is off and away. It's a full 30-40 seconds for RS1, and a championship contender has to fight its way back through the pit lane.
I find that interesting, Ryan, that the guys in the pool sitting car have come back through in the pit lane for Macombi McAleer Racing. I suspect that is because they know that everyone else, with now only 55 minutes to go, can run full rich to the end, and they want to be able to fight against it. Some remedial work going on on the Matt Plum Aston Martin for TGM, the number 46 car. Advantage going back out again. The TCRs now lead, of course. But they've yet to make, some of those have yet to make their stuff. I don't think this helps MMG, if I'm honest. They hadn't made their first stop. Eduardo Gore hadn't made his first stop either. Those were the only two. So they're going to have to take a full load of VP Racing fuel, and that is going to be the determinant, Ryan Marine, of how long they're in the pit lane.
Yeah, definitely. They are due a much longer stop than everyone else, should everyone else come in, which is to be determined, I guess. We'll see what they elect to do. If they do come, it will be a shorter stop for sure. So I think you're right that the car that's been the pace setter all weekend in TCR should be shuffled back a couple of positions at the very least during this pit sequence. I would say the Go Racing team finds themselves in a similar position. They too have yet to pit, like you point out. So yeah, those are two teams that might have some work to do when the race gets restarted.
If I'm going to speak, I have to turn my microphone on. Luke Rumberg's been out there for 14 laps. So he pitted very early. So he's going to have to come as well. So the fact that he's been down the pit lane doesn't really matter. Lance Bergstein also been out there for 14 laps. Thelthor Neto coming back into it, 11 laps for Precision Racing. He's the next car up in line. But of course, Thelthor started the race, so he has to give the car over to his teammate at some stage, so might as well do that now. I'm still trying to work out who the leading GS car is after all of this. Here come the TCRs. Let's go down to our BDO pit lane reporter. That's Arjuna Kankapardi, and you've got, I think, the whole field coming in, so there's going to be a shuffle here, Arjuna.
At least my timing screen agrees with you, John. The entirety of the TCR class makes its way down, and I've nestled myself by the number 93, the MMG race-leading Honda Civic that has turned its season around since a disappointing start to 2025 at Daytona, and now LP Montour, after what was a great stint from him. He did exactly what he needed to do, controlled the tempo at the front of the field, hands over to Carl Whitmer. It's a tidy driver change as the front tires, as expected in the TCR class, are the only ones getting replaced. Michelin stickers rather for those front tires as well. The number 89 seems to be the first one off and away from pit lane, followed then by the 98, by the 33, and the 31. So at least in terms of track position, a little bit of time dropped by MMG, but now they just wait for the fuel to go in. It's a great spot, all things considered, to fire themselves off, fifth on the road, out of pit lane.
Love to hear those little four-cylinder turbocharged engines getting revved up. So, Ryan, Cameron Shields, who has been in that car a mere handful of laps, I think 6 laps, of which now a couple have been behind the safety car. So Cameron Shields leading in GS with the BMW M4 GT4 Evo for Carbon. He started his stint at some 2 minutes past the hour. So it's now 15, so 13 minutes ago. But that said, there's been a lot of yellow in that. They're going to go at the end. They're going to try and go at the end with Cameron, I think so, in that car. That was the car remember, that was facing the wrong direction after being hit by another BMW, the Turner car. Ron Tomlinson for Precision Racing may be trying to do the same thing. Now, he's been out there 6 laps. Actually, Cameron's only been out there for 3 laps, 2 of which were yellow. Ron Tomlinson has been out there for 6 laps, 4 now of which have been under yellow. I reckon that number 37 Precision Racing LA car can probably go to the end as well. What is going to be interesting is to see when we do the split who lines up second. I think it'll be Jensen Altman for GS. I think it'll be LP Montour for TCR, but Eddie Gore Jr., rather than Eduardo, his dad, I think he'll be third in the TCR category in the Orange Cupra. Whilst we sort all that out and whilst we split the field, that gives us an opportunity to talk to some more drivers who probably haven't had the first hour and a bit of the race that they were expecting. Arjuna Kankapati with the BDO Pit Lane report.
I was just asking Nate Cicero how difficult it is in this stop-and-start nature to maintain your rhythm on those race restarts. How was it, Nate?
Yeah, it's a little bit difficult, but we have an amazing car, an MMR, and the Ford Mustang is doing great this weekend. Felt really good in the car. Could just get into a rhythm once a few laps went by. But yeah, just trying to run a consistent pace and stay out front, and we did that. And the team had an awesome call. Our spotter, Chris Long, made an amazing call for us, and we got into the pits, and hopefully, we can just stay out front the rest of the race.
Jensen was saying when we talked to him about an hour ago that it was really impressive how quickly you can adapt to a car in qualifying trim. Are you still learning a lot about the Mustang and the race condition, though?
Yeah, you still learn every lap, but the car has been amazing. The balance has stayed the same the whole weekend. We've made a couple of tweaks at MMR, but the car rolled off the trailer amazing. So yeah, it's been easy for us drivers.
I've got to ask quickly as well, did you need that splash and dash?
I think to be a little bit safe, yeah, but we're still in a good spot, so that's it makes it a little easier for Jensen, and just do his best, stay out front, and we'll see where we come out.
I've heard you got some characters on your helmet as well. Can you tell us a bit about what that means to you?
Yeah, I have Remy the Rat. I'm a ginger, so everyone calls me Linguini from Ratatouille. Jensen last year said little chef when I qualified P3 in my first race. My girlfriend decided to get me this little Remy toy with a magnet, and yeah, I wear them around when I get podiums, and I guess poles. That's a tradition.
Well, and as the kids would say, John, Nate Cicero cooking in qualifying.
Oh, very good. Very good. That might be our Michelin moment of the race there from Arjuna. Excellent work that in. He's fitting right in. Nate Cicero embracing his linguininess from the animated movie Ratatouille. If you haven't seen it, watch it. It is really very good. Been around a few years now. I'm sure it'll be on one of the streaming platforms. Right, that is perfect timing because we'll reset the field for you with the news, first of all, that the Turner BMW number 95 that had that left front damage after the impact with the number 4 BMW of Carbon has officially retired. The car, which was the second part of that incident, which suffered a spin and dropped all the way down, has Cameron Shields in the lead of the race right now, as we're about to come back to green. The Carbon guys have made a couple of trips down through pit lane. Cameron's been in that car for 4 laps, the majority of which have been under yellow. Yes, it was 20 minutes ago when he made his stop, or just under, but he's not really done a lot of running. It was past the hour mark of the race, so we've got 46 minutes still to go. No, it wasn't, it was just under the hour mark, excuse me. But even so, he's pretty close. Jensen Altman has just got in the car, and that car is fueled to the end. We've not seen anything about that car entering a closed pit. Now, we might not see it until we go green again this time, but as of right now, that is a fast car, the pole-sitting car, and sits in second place. Then it's the Turner BMW of Patrick Gallagher, the number 96 BMW. Then Unitronic JDC Miller, Mikey Taylor, installed in that car, and that would be their best result of the season by far. Then Aston Martin of Team TGM and Auto Technics BMW make up the top 6 for GS as they come to the green flag in TCR. Precision Racing, Ron Tomlinson leads as Altman goes for the lead at the green flag, pulls to the outside and storms past the BMW. We did hear that Mustang was very quick in a straight line and that they'd BMW drivers didn't really fancy their chances on restarts in the second half of the race, and that's exactly what they got that they didn't want. But it's BMW second and third now, with Porsche fourth, side by side. Ford number 59 is the core racing car right alongside the number 39 Jeff Westphal driven car, and that's Billy Johnson who's in that car now. And we've had a couple of TCR cars off at the bottom of turn 3 again, and one of those I think was with the 37 LAP car. Yes, it is, and it's the heart black and red Honda. So the LAP car has gone off, and there's damage to both of those cars. That's the Precision Racing car that was leading the TCR with Ron Tomlinson. They had played it perfectly well, and that's got left front suspension damage. Ryan Marine, heartbreak for the top two in TCRs. They've come together in some way, shape or form, and I don't think either of those cars are getting back.
Well, I think certainly Chad Gilsinger appears to be done. He's trying to find a cutoff where he can pull out and get off of the track. That is so disappointing for them. They played the strategy really well. MMG and the Go team that had yet to pit, as expected, they were shuffled back extensively during the pit stop shuffles there, having longer pit stops than everybody else in TCR, so they've got some work to do now mid-pack. Whitmer took the restart in 6th, and we definitely have a reshuffled field in GS with a couple of the teams that elected to gamble and pitted at the earliest opportunity, right on the outskirts of that window. Among them, the Patrick Gallagher and Mikey Taylor cars that helped them gain some track position that they did not have before.
Well, the good news is that both of the cars involved, good news for us in keeping the race green, is that Ron and Chad very sportingly have found the orange overlaps at turn number 4, and therefore we will not need to go back to a full course yellow, certainly not for that. So Jensen Holtzman leads for McCumbee McAleer Racing, one of the Ford junior drivers. Cameron Shields hanging on though in that BMW with Patrick Gallagher from Turner Motorsport in 3rd. In TCR, Bryson Morris now for Brian Herter Autosport leads from the Audi of Jaden Conrad and the RVA Graphics Motorsport car. And then Harry Gottsacker in 3rd with Carl Whitmer for MMG, now right back in the fight, and that is the car that's got the fastest lap of the TCR race. This is all change and all action down at turn 5, down the inside for the number 46 of Matt Plum as he has a look at Core Motorsports' Billy Johnson. Actually, I think it was Billy coming round the outside. That number 59 car for Core Motorsports, the mainly red car, is absolutely flying since the restart. Into the pit lane, Denny DuPont for Brian Herter Autosport. Drops that car out of 11th position, that car being the number 76. Are they just making their last pit stop now with 40 minutes to go? Hearing from the team that car, the engine keeps shutting off and then refiring. So that's awful news for that team. Well, they've had a very quick fix for it. Maybe that was just the reset button on the passenger, the right-hand side. But Jensen Holtzman through to the lead relatively easily, it seemed, Ryan Marine, but he's not pulling away from the two BMWs and the rest of the field.
Well, a few things to clean up here. Number one, that could be big in the championship in TCR. Denny DuPont and Preston Brown, even with the championship leader, Harry Gottsacker, coming in. There was also contact with DuPont trying to restart, evidently. So maybe that is an example of that car shutting off, because it looked like it didn't go with the rest of the field. But this could cost them dearly in the points. They were even on points, as I said, coming in second due to the tiebreaker, but really struggling when their championship challenger is having a pretty good day running in 3rd. The other thing to clear up is we did get confirmation, or I did at least, from someone at IMSA, that Jensen Holtzman's pit stop, or the Nate Cicero pit stop really, was good. He was committed to the pit lane. Remember, we were wondering about that, and that's huge for them, because look where they are relative to Jan Halen, the RS1 car that had been running 2nd, They did not get into the pit lane. Consequently, they got shuffled back when they pitted under that yellow. They're all the way back in 10th now. That's the difference it makes, whether or not Altsman was able to get in or Cicero was able to get in, which he did, and only barely relative to the rest of the field.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And now we see what Jan Helen can do. We've seen him defensively this year a couple of times, playing an absolute all-star game at the front of the field when he's had to. Now he has to go on the offense. 10th position at the moment for RS1. We'll see their championship lead cut down in a major way. He's got Matt Plum just half a second ahead of him, but the whole top 10 is only 5 seconds spread, and there's a second between first and second, and half a second between second and third. So there's really a lot of ground and a lot of points to be made by RS1 if Jan Helen can begin to pick off the cars ahead of him. Jensen Altsman seemingly bringing his Michelin tyres up nice and easily, and now begins to stretch the Mustang's legs. 2:16.8 last time around against a best of 2:16.4 for that car. The outright best in the class is Tom Merrill, or at least the AR Motorsports number 14 Porsche at 2:16.3. Carbon second place Cameron Shields' car's just done his fastest lap of the race, and the car's fastest lap of the race is 17.4, but the gap now at the front of the field is almost a full section, a full second. Bryson Morris leading also by an almost a full second from Jaden Conright, Herta Autosports, Hyundai, and the Audi from RVA. Let's just see these cars down to turn one before we take another BDO pit lane report. More side-by-side action into the first corner as they stream through, and just looking to see there, that's Jan Helen making up a position, but Matt Plum has a look down the inside. He was on the grass for a moment in the Aston Martin, Matt Plum, but one position gained and points clawed back then for RS1. Let's go to Arjuna Kankapati in the pits.
I'm down here with Luke Rumberg in the RVA graphics entry, running second in class. And Luke, Jaden Conright's taken over from you. How's things going out there on track?
Oh, it's going great so far. We got a fast car. The RVA graphics, Speed Syndicate, Manchester Hydraulics are killing it this weekend. We've had a fast car all weekend, qualified good, cars holding up good. We haven't had any problems, and I think we got a good podium in us.
Thanks.
Might be able to get back to him in a second, but a huge incident for Gregory Leafouge, for Stephen Cameron Racing. That's the R2EndALZ.org car. This is the names livery. Over $1 million has been raised for Alzheimer's research in the last few years, and that is the end of their day in the chute, running down through the kink. Greg, that was a big incident in the middle of the pack. He was running in 7th position, having a scrap with Billy Johnson and Tom Merrill. It was 1, 2, 3 across the track. Oh, and it was a plant in billiards terms. Billy Johnson onto the, I think it was onto the BMW.
McAleer, I think.
McAleer, was it? Yeah, you're right. So it was McAleer, Billy Johnson onto Stephen McAleer, was it? Yes, it was. And McAleer then shunts into the luckless Gregory Leafouge. And that'll have to be looked at, Ryan. But you certainly can't blame the car that's taking the brunt of it. The door is open, by the way, and Greg is getting out under his own recognizance. That's good news. I think he was just waiting to see all the cars go through. But that was a very big impact indeed. And just before I bring you in, Ryan, the number 76 car, the reason it was such a quick fix for Hyundai was either the driver had seen it or they had worked out why the car was cutting out. It was a battery lead that had come loose, and they very quickly refastened that and tightened it back on and sent the car. So great piece of fault finding there. from the Hyundai team. And now, of course, although they've lost some time, they are back on the end of the TCR line for Denny Dupont and Brian Hearn at Autosport. There's some very damaged cars going around out there at the moment, including Stephen Michelin.
Yeah, he was the meat in the sandwich there, wasn't he? It was a 3-wide moment in the run from turn 3 down to turn 5. As you described, the contact initially was Mustang into the McAleer BMW, the Billy Johnson Mustang into the McAleer BMW, and then poor Greg Liafouge was to the inside of those two and could have had no way of knowing that McAleer had been tapped and got sent into the Liafouge car and shot across the track. Great to see Greg is out of the car under his own power. Speaks to how safe a race car that Ford Mustang is, because that was a big, big impact. But that's heartbreaking for the Race to End Alzheimer's car, the Stephen Cameron Racing entry that had their first podium in many years the last time out at CTMP, where they teamed to finish 3rd. Won't be happening here, unfortunately. Really a tough break there for Greg Liafouge and Sean Quinlan.
Well, this is not going to be a quick clear up. There's a lot of damage and possibly some barrier damage to assess as well. As they stand at the moment, it's 180 points between the RS1 duo and Jensen Altman on his own, because he's had a couple of different co-drivers. 270 back is the number 39 Jeff Westphal car that runs in 9th position, just behind the leaders. I rather rudely interrupted on his headphones Arjuna there with his BDO pit lane report because of the seriousness of the incident. Let's go back down to the pit lane and catch up with some more drivers. Arjuna, my apologies.
Don't worry, because Luke and myself got dragged over to a video monitor to catch along with what was happening. But Luke, this slows the pace down once again. Let's talk strategy, because very up in the air, and you guys pitted twice before the race leaders had even come in once.
Yeah, that's correct. We wanted to play the long game and try and get extra fuel in the car and try and push it as far as we can, because we got 58 minutes of fuel. So the longer I could stay out there and keep the car on the track and keep it in second, we would do better with fuel. So that's what we did, and it seems to be working out really well right now.
The pace is clearly there, but I know we're going to be missing you next time out when the Pilot Challenge goes racing, because you've got something else to do. You're getting married.
Yes, sir. I'll be getting married September 20th of the Indy weekend, so I'll be missing that one, unfortunately. But hopefully we can come out here with a good momentum and then pick it back up at the last race.
And you'll have Jaden Conroy back in the car for, I guess, what will be his 3rd round of the championship with you. How's that relationship developing between you two?
Oh, yeah, that's great. Me and Jaden get along awesome, and we're, like, really good friends. We're about the same age, so we get along, we hang out. He's a very good teammate to me. We take care of each other, and he's fast, so that always helps out a lot when you got a guy like me.
Well, congratulations on the upcoming nuptials, and best of luck for the rest of the race.
Thank you.
Wedding plans set in the racing season. Not sure about that. Although, in fairness, the responsible adult picked the date of our wedding as the weekend before Le Mans, and we had one of our ceremonies at Le Mans, at Arnage actually. The thinking behind it was it's probably the only week of the year where she can guarantee that she knows where I am on the planet, which I thought was sound, absolutely sound logic from the responsible adult. Of course it was process driven. Well, we reset again, Ryan, and in some ways we're no further forward, but what we have done is balanced out pretty much all now of the different strategies, because with this extra intervention of the Chevrolet Corvette safety car, I can't believe anybody is tight on fuel. There's a slight tyre offset between some of the cars, but we're talking 2 or 3 laps, 4 or 5 laps at the absolute most, so we're not talking huge performance advantages. And really, we haven't had a long session of green flag racing. I think the longest we've had is probably 10 minutes of racing, believe it or not, and that was in the middle of the race. That was an hour ago when we went back green an hour ago. It's the old adage of cautions breeding cautions here, and the seeming necessity of all the drivers to want to make the pass right here, right now, as we hear that there are 2 3-car incidents under review. The LAP 89 and 98 cars, and the last one, the Billy Johnson, Stephen McAleer, Stephen Cameron car as well. Are we any the wiser? Other than the fact that McCumbee McAleer Racing Ford Mustang is very quick in a straight line, so up the hill particularly, it has a lot of, the pony car has a lot of ponies and a lot of torque.
That's been on display all day, hasn't it? Especially with these restarts. When Oldsman's been out front, he's been able to motor ahead. And then that rare situation where after the restart, he found himself behind Cameron Shields. Didn't take him long, did it, to get around the BMW and into the lead of the race. I agree with your assessment, though. There's no fuel talk anymore. The only element of strategy left in this race is just about tire life relative to the cars around you at this stage. I think, though, what is interesting is how this has shaken out, especially in GS. The strategy has split several of the championship contenders. So your points leaders, RS1, down in 8th. Jan Halen has recovered a couple of positions, largely due to attrition, it seems like, since that restart. So he's up to the 8th spot, but still has some work to do to get back toward where he had been running on pace earlier in this race. Meanwhile, the McCumbee McAleer team, again, just brilliant, being able to read the situation. They were in the right place to react, and credit to them, they did. They got that pit stop done right before, or right as the full course yellow came out, and that allowed them to retain their track position relative to the rest of their competitors. And this could be a big points day for them as it runs, with several of the cars that they're really battling with, most notably the RS1 car having difficult days. On the other side of things in TCR, good recovery on the restart from MMG. Carl Whitmer is up to 4th now, and he's on the tail of Harry Gottsacker. Those two very much fighting for the championship. And this yellow, while unfortunate in a lot of respects, you brought this up earlier, it does bring the 76 back in. They're not having a great day. They're down in 11th right now, but Denny Dupont at least gets this reset and will have hopefully 20-plus minutes to try and charge through the field and salvage something, because right now he and Preston Brown would drop a lot of points with the way that they're running at this stage.
Yeah, MMG having the better of the day, neither of them having a great day. With Carl Whitmer taking over the car in 4th position, or in the car at the moment in 4th position. Strange how the Hyundais tend to cycle back to the front, 1st and 3rd now. Don't count out that Audi RS3 with Jaden Conwright behind the wheel. They're in good shape, and they have got the fastest lap of the race, 2:17.9. And whilst I will put in a caveat of how little green flag racing we've had, and particularly with the TCRs, it's often difficult to find a clear lap, but that is way faster than anybody else. That's a good half a second quicker than any other car has done on a single lap in the TCR field. 2:17.984. I reckon the next fastest is Carl Whitmer, actually, in the MMG Montreal Motorsport Group car, 2:18.4, and 2:18.6 by Bryson Morris's car, and that's it for the 2:18s. Everybody else, 2:18.9 for Tim Lewis in the Honda Civic for KMW that he took over from Dr. Will Talley, and everybody else is in the 19s or 20s. So that is a big offset performance-wise for a single lap pace, at least. Hello to Shane Cullyhall in Penetang in Ontario. Is this close to a record number of cautions for a Pilot Challenge race? This is our 6th now for just 13 laps, because that's a long lap here. So that is more than half of the race being behind our very lovely safety car. And as I said, I think our longest green flag stint is a little over 10 minutes. Let's quickly go to a BDO pit lane report. Arjuna has been counting cautions down through the years. We will be going green at the end of this lap. Arjuna?
Cast your mind back to 2022 when we had a 4-hour race here. We had a total of 5 cautions. Yes, it did total up for 27 laps of caution, but this has been a totally different race, I think, from any other 2-hour event that the Pilot Challenge has had here at Road America, where traditionally 2 cautions was kind of the number that most of the teams would have had in their history books to fall back on in terms of strategy calls.
Yeah, 5 here as well. Sorry, I may have misspoken there. 13 laps per an hour and 3 minutes and counting. That will come to an end at the next time by. So get ready to race as the green flag is out with 24 minutes still to go, and Jensen Altsman restarts very nicely indeed. Also coming through, a great restart from Jan Halen, and this is the championship on the line. He pulled out to the right hand side very, very early and started to try and make up some positions. Mikey Taylor in the Unitronic JDC Porsche as well, pulling out a line early as they go underneath the Arians Bridge and down through the Kinker 2 to turn 3, which has been one of the action areas. Let's see if we can get everybody through that safely this time around. Mikey Taylor up the inside of Billy Johnson, I think, there, as he was trying to go through. Or was that the BMW, actually? I think Billy Johnson's already got through and looking for a second position at the moment. What a restart that has been for the Core Motorsport car, up into second place around the outside of Cameron Shields down into turn number 5. But Billy Johnson must be under threat of a drive-through after that incident down through turn 4 to turn 5 that sparked this most recent caution. Now, what do you do if you're Jensen Altsman? Do you fight that number 59 car coming through, the red, white and black car, or are the teams saying he's likely to get a drive-through? One that has been resolved is the 3rd place Brian Herter Autosport Hyundai Elantra. Harry Gottsacker will have to come through the lane, and it's a drive-through, and the 59 car has been given a stop and hold for 60 seconds, so Jensen can let him go here, should let him go here. He should let him go so that he is not putting his win in peril. The team have got to be on the phone to him right here. Well, he hasn't let him go into Canada corner, and Billy Johnson is still looking very racy. He does not have to come in straight away. He can stay out for 3 laps, and he may want to do that. He's got a fast car, but 60 seconds, he's going to lose all but a lap. Does he peel off this time round into the pits? He does not. Billy Johnson is staying out. So now, surely, Ryan Marine, you've got to say to Jensen Altsman, do not risk here. Do not overly defend into turn 1. Let that core car go.
And the right turn
he's
signal flashes on. Yep, he's going to let Billy on through. That message has been sent. That's really heads up from the McCumbee McAleer team to let their driver know the state of play.
Well, that's 2 tremendous calls from the pit wall that now each of the drivers have benefited from. Nate Cicero getting the call to pit as soon as the team saw the incident down through the kink and into the fastest part of the circuit down towards Canada corner. They told him to pit. He got in to the pit commit area, the long pit lane. That's turned their race around. They went long, gambled that way. It almost went terribly wrong for them. And now Jensen Altsman being informed by his team, let Billy Johnson go. He's not in this race. He's got to come down pit lane, which will cost him 39 seconds just to drive through. Then he's going to be stationary for 60 seconds, and then we're all going to be going flat out past him on the pit lane as well. That is going to be a big loss, probably 3/4 of a lap. So Billy Johnson now in the lead as far as on the circuit, but really it's still that number 13 car, and we've got 20 minutes to go, Ryan.
Well, the other penalty is a big one too, with the Harry Godsacker needing to serve his drive-through. That means that Godsacker, who's tied for the lead in TCR points, and the DuPont and Brown car that's struggling today down in 7th, neither of them figured to score big points. This could be a huge day for Carl Whitmer, LP Montour, and MMG. They come in 3rd in the standings, and if they can make up a couple of more spots, the penalty would put Whitmer up into 3rd as they run. They could really make some headway in trying to overcome the big gap that they have to those leading groups right now, given their slow start to the season.
And MMG with Carl Whitmer, albeit in 4th at the moment, waiting for Harry Godsacker to pull into the pit lane to serve his penalty. Carl Whitmer is still only a second away from Bryson Morris at the front of the field. So that is very, very tight indeed. Hyundai, Audi, as Bryson Morris goes through, Harry Godsacker has stayed out. Now, Godsacker here, is he just trying to hold up Carl Whitmer as much as he can? Oh, there's a touch, and down at turn 4, that was the championship leader that got squirrely. I think there's a puncture, left rear puncture for the championship leader. I just saw the car go sideways. Jan Helen, who'd worked his way up to 8th position. No, it's fluid. It's fluid. I thought that the back end of the car dropped down and then he was sliding around. I think he's got something coming out of the back of the car. He may be sliding on his own fluid of some description. This is a pivotal moment in the championship for our long-time championship leaders as Hyundai and Hyundai action. And that is Denny DuPont coming back through the field in the 76. He's worked his way up into 7th and he's just hip-checked Ryan Eversley. Oh my goodness me, no, that wasn't Ryan Eversley, excuse me, that must have been a lap car. It was Suelo Almeida, excuse me. And we were correct. There was something sinister and serious with the championship leader, Ryan Marine. This has just turned the GS Championship on its head.
It has. Halen and Mars have only finished worse than 3rd once all season. That was the last time out at CTMP, which saw their lead dwindle from over 300 points down to 260. This could be another major loss of points in the championship, still with 3 rounds to go at the end of this race. Remember, that car had to be hastily repaired prior to this race. The team was hoping everything was buttoned up the way that they wanted it, but they didn't have a chance to shake it down before the race started. You would think that anything residual would have reared its head by now, but we haven't had much green flag running. So you do have to wonder if maybe this could be a holdover from an issue earlier in the weekend.
Or was it down at the far end of the circuit? Now, we have to think back a wee ways to the incident with the number 98 TCR car. Harry Godsacker was heavily involved in that 3-car incident at turn 3. Here comes Billy Johnson out of the lead of the race to be held for 60 seconds. And this was for the move on the Stephen McAleer car, the Autotechnic racing car now in 3rd, that took out the Racing to End Alzheimer's Stephen Cameron car. And Billy Johnson then dropping down through the TCR field. I'll do some quick arithmetic in a moment, but let's take a video pit report because we've got our pit reporter, Arjuna Kantaparty, who's been talking to the GS leading team, RS1. What's the news about the trouble with that number 28 now off the circuit down at turn 5? Arjuna.
The word from race control is the car's going nowhere anytime soon. And a quick word with Luca Mars indicates there may have been a bit of contact, John, into turn number 1. So You were talking about the damage repairs that they had to make after a couple of incidents, both in FP1 and after qualifying, but there may have been a third little bit of contact that's shaken the championship standings up here in Road America.
Oh, now, here's a very unusual situation. Brian Hurt at Autosport have been petitioning race control quite clearly, and Harry Gottsacker gets to have his penalty rescinded. That's why he was staying out, Ryan. So the team and race control having a chat, so that contact down at turn 3 with a couple of other cars, including the Ron Tomlinson Precision Racing machine, who was battling for the lead, and the other car was the 89, wasn't it? The Chad Gilsinger car. They were leading and second at the time. That penalty has been rescinded. That's huge, and it's actually probably more important for the car that sits behind him, Carl Whitmer.
Yeah, definitely. Again, those two in the championship battle in TCR, that is super rare to have a penalty like that rescinded, a rare reprieve for Harry Gottsacker, but he'll take it, holding on to the podium now as best as he can. A moment ago, we got a glimpse at Jeff Westphal working over Mikey Taylor. Westphal and Sean McAllister, they are second in GS points and need to have a really good day to try and claw into that gap we were talking about to RS1. The best positioned right now to make big inroads in the points might be Jensen Altzman in the leading car. He's here set to score big points while RS1 is stuck on the side of the road, and this could make this a real 3-horse race for the final 3 races of the season in GS if they finish as they run.
Meantime, in TCR, it has really closed up, because it's now 50 points between first and second, and that has really closed things up. Just saw that pop up on the top of our screens a moment ago. I have to say, I'm not doing the in-race arithmetic as we go on. That's all down to our clever team in Concord, North Carolina. Denny DuPont now 50 points behind Harry Gottsacker, with the MMG twins 130 down on the leaders. That is an extraordinary turnaround as it stands at the moment. So Harry Gottsacker right to stay out, and Carl Whitmer could change that around with an overtake here. And in GS, as we were just talking about, it's 100 points exactly. The RS1 car still holding on to a scant lead. Now, where has that dropped down to? The problem is they're going to drop further down, because Zach Veach and CSM and Winward Racing, with Phil Ellis behind the wheel, they're going to overtake them. So they're going to lose another couple of places from where they're being scored right now, which is 15th in class. They will finish, and Robin Liddell actually, yes, might just overtake them as well, but they're definitely going to drop down to 17th position, I reckon. So that might be even closer than that by the end of the race. And still some problems for Denny DuPont behind the wheel of the number 76. That was the car with the issue with the battery cable earlier on, now having a throttle pedal issue, and they think possibly a slow puncture as well. So everything I've just told you about the points, forget that for the moment, and wait for another 11 minutes, Ryan Marine, to see what actually happens when the checkered flag goes out.
Well, it gave us a little bit of context for things as it stands, but I don't think it's going to stay like this if all of that is true. What a difficult day for Denny DuPont and Preston Brown. Actually, Denny's done a great job to fight back. We mentioned how that most recent yellow brought them back into the picture, and they have recovered to run 5th. But if they do have a slow puncture, that is certainly in jeopardy at this stage. And it's interesting that the 3 championship contenders have effectively found themselves on the track, 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Not really where we're accustomed to seeing them, but nevertheless, they have found one another, and any position change amongst those three could have a big impact on the championship standings.
Well, we've just had a position change as Carl Whitmer for MMG's gone past Harry Gottsacker. So now his lead to the Brown and DuPont car is down to 20 points. And the next car back, albeit 2 seconds further back, is Denny DuPont. He might be having problems. He's just put the car's fastest lap of the race in with a 2:18.9 as opposed to a 2:20.007 for Gottsacker. So we could yet have that slightly ill number 76 car back in the lead of the championship, and don't write out. In fact, Carl Whitmer is right with now, just a second away from Jaden Conwright in second, which puts him round about 2.5 seconds away from the lead of the race. So these points are changing almost corner by corner, lap by lap. Let's take a quick BDO pit lane report down in the pit lane with Arjuna.
I made my way down to the MMG camp. Carl Whitmer passed Harry Gottsacker at turn 1 and LP Montour standing with me. Those championship points are looking very interesting, but from your perspective, that first stint, saving all the fuel and then caught out by the cautions, what was that like?
Yeah, so 3 full course yellow, I had to make my way up to the GF field at every restart, kept a good tire under me, good car under me, and now Carl's doing a mega stint right now, so can be happier in that now.
We've got only a handful of races left after this, but the momentum's on your side, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Momentum is on our side. MMG and HRC prepare an awesome car, so we just have to do our job like we're doing now.
And another pole in qualifying yesterday. I asked you before we went on air, was there any more time in that lap?
Oh no, there was no any more time. It was full out.
MMG maximizing performance on track.
And just a second away from second place and some more points. Our Michelin moment of the race. 1 for GS, 1 for TCR. Ryan Marine, Macumbi Makalia Racing have probably had 2 contenders. What else have you seen that could be in there?
Oh, outside of those 2, that's a good question. I was pretty focused in on that call to get that car to pit lane right in the nick of time, because that salvaged their day. They could have been on the wrong foot strategically. Instead, they barely sneak into the pits. That keeps a fast car at the front of the field, and no one else has been able to challenge. But some others maybe of note, let's look at the 96 car that's running 4th right now. Patrick Gallagher behind the wheel. That car was well down the order, but they played the strategy pretty well. They pitted right on the outskirts of the window, and that allowed them to cycle forward. So if you're looking for a dark horse nomination, not a dark horse Mustang, but a dark horse nomination, maybe the 96 Turner car. And I don't know that we've seen our TCR moment of the race just yet, so I'm going to hang on to that for a moment.
Well, there's been so much going on there. Some great overtaking by a number of drivers. The Go Racing car in second place at one stage. I'll throw that into the mix. Arjuna, GS and TCR, Michelin moments of the race for you.
Ryan actually spotted one of the storylines I'd been tracking, which was that Turner 96. And so maybe look one place behind them, where the AR Motorsports number 14 qualified down in 18th. And if I remember correctly, got tangled up in some of the start drama and have fought their way back into a top 5 finish. So I think that's a very admirable fight back from them. In TCR, I kind of know what Ryan means, but I'm going to point out what the 31 crew have been able to do. A best finish this season coming into this round of 12th. And so to be on the podium, we're seeing that Audi week in and week out have potential. I think Jaden Conwright and Luke Rumberg are going to be very happy with the strategy that gave them the track position they're holding on to now.
Yeah, and the fastest lap of the race, which is still half a second quicker than anyone else has gone in TCR as well. Well, we'll keep an eye on TCR. We've got just over 5.5 minutes still to go. And this battle continues with the MMG car now right with Jaden Conwright as they head down towards Canada Corner. There's maybe 3 or 4 cars lengths, maybe a little more, 5 or 6 car lengths between them as they come through Canada Corner. At the front of the field, it's closed up a little bit. Jensen Altman got closed down to around about half a second, and that's where it is right now. But he seems to be able to match the pace of the cars behind them. Jeff Westphal is the quickest of the leaders with a 16.7 against 17s ahead of him. He's closing up. We are going to have something like a 4 or 5 car battle, which is 1 Ford Mustang and 4 BMW M4 GT4s. And they'll be within a couple of seconds as we're coming into the closing stages here. It's the might of Munich against America's finest. And Jensen Holtzman, they did come in and splash, remember. They must have been worried about fuel. Has he been told to save just a little bit? I reckon when he comes by this time around, he's at the moment just going through the kink at turn 7 and down the Hurry Downs towards the left-hander at turn 8. It will be 2 to go at the end of this lap for Jensen Holtzman. Is he just pacing himself? Top 6 now within 3 seconds. Mustang and then a quartet of BMWs. This is the sort of racing we were hoping for. We haven't quite had enough of it, but right now at the front of the field, Ryan Marine, the battle is on for all 3 spots on the podium.
Yeah, in both classes as well. We've got good battles going on for those podium spots. It's about 5 cars, like you mentioned, in GS. TCR super close too. Whitmer really reeling in Conrad here over the last few laps. That thing might not be settled until the final lap of this race.
And just to finish the championship conundrum that we had with RS1, Jan Helen will finish in 17th position in that car. Robin Liddell will not overhaul him, but both Zach Veach for CSM and Phil Ellis have done exactly that. So it will be no better than 17th position. In fact, it will be 17th position for the championship leaders. And that is going to make things very, very tight indeed at the top of the championship. Under 100 points, I reckon, as it stands at the moment. 2 BMWs side by side are battling for 4th and 5th at the moment. The 39, Jeff Westphal, has just put the fastest lap of the race in when he needed it, a 2:16.107, and he's right with the white, blue and red Liqua Molly Turner car. They're side by side under the Sargento Cheese Bridge, and through goes Westphal in the Carbon car. He's up to 4th place. Patrick Gallagher could not hold him back, and now a spot on the podium overall is beckoning for Jeff Westphal, with Stephen McAleer, his next target, about a second up the road. It'll be the white flag next time around, and Holtzman's lead has dwindled to 0.4 of a second. He did a 17.0 last time around. He's been solidly in the 17s for the last few laps, but it was a 16.8 from Cameron Shields. What's left in the tank for Carbon? This could be spin to win. They were facing the wrong direction via Turner Motorsport earlier on at turn 3. What a comeback this could be. Incredible stuff at the front of the field. What is the body language of those 2 cars at the front of the field telling you, Ryan Marine?
Well, it does look like both platforms handle really well, but the straight line speed of the Mustang has been so good here this weekend. And we heard Sean McAllister tell Arjuna pre-race he was concerned about raceability with the BMW vis-a-vis the Mustang. Yes, they can keep up with them on lap time, but it would be difficult to pass given just how strong the Mustang seems to be in a straight line compared to the BMW. But that's the task ahead here for Cameron Shields, who gets closer and closer with each passing lap.
White flag will be out as we come under the starter's gantry this time around. I will note that the track temperature has gone up significantly, 102 Fahrenheit now, which is 39 Celsius. That is a big jump, and I'm just wondering if that warmer temperature is not suiting the rear tyres of Jensen Holtzman. He was fairly easy on the brakes, just caressing the car into turn 1. He'll not want to spin off those tyres. 0.5 of a second tension on both of the pit walls. Under 4 miles to go now. A tactical masterclass from a car that's quick in a straight line, but was a little bit thirsty. They had to make the extra pit stop. They made their first pit stop absolutely on the nose. Could not have left it 1 second further. Meantime, in TCR, MMG are right with the number 31 of Jaden Conwright. That's the RVA Graphics Motorsport car, and this has championship implications. Harry Gottsacker holding on, barely holding on to 4th position behind them as the two Hyundais are separated by under 2/10 of a second. The championship could go either way at the end of this one. And there's a little love tap coming out of turn 5 from the Civic onto the back of the Audi. It's Bryson Morris who is leading in TCR for Herder Autosport in the number 33 car. But one position here and there right now in the championship could make a big difference for the whole of the top 3. Jaden Conwright in the purple and red car, racing to end Alzheimer's. Get onto the website r2endalz.org. Coming through the carousel for the final time. Our leaders coming through to the last corner. Jensen Altsman just has to get the Mustang straightened up. He's going to diamond off this corner, get it as straight as he can, as quickly as he can. It wasn't a great exit of turn 14, but he's got a little bit more torque, I think, and he's done enough, but barely. But it's Jensen Altsman and Nate Cicero who win for Macumbi-Macaleer Racing and close the gap on the championship leaders. Chef's kiss to Linguini and the rest of the team. And in TCR, down the inside of the final corner, there's going to be a pass for 2nd place. Through comes the Hugh Plum TGM car, but which of the cars will be 2nd? Bryson Morris has won it. Jaden Conwright just holds on by 1/10 of a second. Harry Gottsacker is going to have to do some defending as well, but he has won by taking his position rather by a couple of 10ths of a second as well. Let's quickly grab Nate Cicero down in the pit lane. An almost light to flag victory.
The emotion from all is palatable, but Nate Cicero from pole to victory, but that was not an easy win, was it?
No, they can say all they want. You know, the BMW is the car to have in the race, but man, we executed a perfect race today. Our Mustang was on fire. We had enough for them. Jensen did an absolute awesome job that whole stint. Every call was perfect. Man, I don't know what else to say. This is amazing. Only my 3rd Michelin Pilot Challenge race, and we're winners in GS. So, you know, this whole MMR crew, absolute amazing family. To come from the karting team with the Macaleers in 2016 to win with the team in GS and in IMSA, like I don't have the words.
It's full circle. What happened in that pit stop call though? How loud were they screaming at you to come down pit lane, and how close were you thinking it was to not making it onto the commitment lane?
It was a pretty decently calm call from my spotter, Chris Long, legend call from him. I had enough time, so I was 90% sure we were good. And yeah, I don't know. It's amazing.
We know your driving's good. How's your cooking?
Cooking, I cook a little bit with my girlfriend as well. So yeah, the skills are going up. Ratatouille, I'll try that maybe in a little bit. I don't think I have the skills for that, but at least I can cook in the car.
Congrats.
You were cooking in the car, and the Michelin moment of the wet race in GS goes to the Macumbi-Macaleer spotter, who's standing out on that area down towards where the big accidents normally happen, but they must have seen that on a screen or something, because they did that perfectly well. So moment of the race goes to the Macumbi-Macaleer racing team for that late call but correct call to get Nate Cicero into the pit lane. In TCR, well, so much going on there. But I think actually I'd like to say it's going to go, because there was so much going on, to the Go Racing Cupra in second place. They had the chutzpah to hold on to what was an unusual strategy for them. Didn't take Eduardo out after 40 minutes. They couldn't, so they left him in, ended up in second place. They've ended up with a 7th, but Michelin moment of the race for TCR, then going to Go Racing. And the fastest lap of the race on the final lap to Billy Johnson in GS. We'll get some more reaction from Arjuna in just a second. Unofficially then, the blue oval ahead of a squadron of blue propellers, with the Michelin racing pair of Jensen Altman and Nate Cicero taking the victory by just under half a second from Carbahn and Autotechnic, the two BMW teams in second. Two more BMW teams in 4th and 5th. A good drive by Stephen McAleer, considering he got a clang earlier on. In fact, both the BMWs on the podium had a clang at various stages, and the Carbahn car, well, that was a great fight back for them to second. The first of Carbahns, and then Jeff Westphal with Peregrine and Carbahn, Turner Motorsport, ER Motorsport, the best of the Porsches, just ahead of Unitronic, JDC Miller, Mikey Taylor coming home in 7th. Team TGM, Matt Plum in 8th, Robert McGuinness, the best of the CSM cars. They didn't have a great day today. LAP in 10th, and then in TCR, it was Sunday from Audi, from Honda, in a fight that has turned the championship upside down. Great fight back from Denny DuPont after taking the car over. The number 76 car, all kinds of problem, including an unexpected trip down to the pit lane. There's the Eduardo and Eddie Gold car in 19th overall. And after that, pretty much everyone had some kind of issue. Billy Johnson had the car to win, but that incident and the 60-second stop took him out of that. But the fastest lap of the race on a 2:16.0, again, that's half a second near enough. Quicker than everybody except Jeff Westphal, who put a 16.1 in. And there was a lot of banged up cars after 5 interventions from the Corvette safety car. Let's have final BDO pit lane report from Arjuna Kankapati.
Mark Wilkins is a winner in 2025, but that was a very remarkable way to come out on top, wasn't it?
That was, I just really proud of the team, obviously coming off of a tough one at the last race. And this one's really about Bryson. He just drove a great race, great stint. And our guys, good strategy, put us in a position. I don't feel like we really had the outright pace, but this, the way the race played out, I would never have predicted it. So we'll take it. It's a great result for the team.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sum that one up, Ryan Marine, in what we've seen. We got the longest green flag run right at the end when we needed it, some 25 minutes, so more than twice as long as any other green flag race. A race punctuated by 5 full course yellows, which did affect strategy and how the race played out.
Yeah, definitely. The yellows were massive. It wasn't your typical Michelin Pilot Challenge strategy where you're trying to decide between one stop or two. Fuel really wasn't the factor that it typically is, but ultimately it shuffled things up, and those that gambled tended to pay off with those early pit stops where maybe you were on the fringe of making your fuel number. That all went away with the amount of yellow that we had. It became a pretty simple run to the checkered from there. But being able to adapt on the fly, that was everything today, especially in GS. McCumbee-McAleer Racing just spot on. Not only did they get the strategy, but they also were about as fast as anybody out there. I think the fastest lap got taken away late in the race, but that car was really hooked up, and they were the total package today.
And in TCR, it's really closed up. Aaron, tell me again what you've just told me about those points. Denny DuPont, 20 points behind Harry Gottsacker in the TCR, and Wilmer and the Montreal Motorsport Group with Monta 90 points back. And in GS, we said it was going to be close. It was 100 points at one stage. Now, the Macumbi-Macaleer driver, Jensen Altman, on his own, only 90 points off the RS1 car lead, Jan Halen and the rest of the team. An incredible turnaround. And 120 points back with another good result today is Jeff Westphal in 4th place. So that charge through for the BMW of Carl Barn with Peregrine at the end made a big difference. 3 more rounds for the Michelin Pilot Challenge for 2025. Honestly, it's all up for grabs. Final thoughts from our 2 other voices. Let's go down for the BDO pit lane to our BDO pit lane reporter, Arjuna Kankapati. That one's going to take a bit of unravelling. Have you got your breath back yet, sir?
Just about. It's a long pit lane as well, so that doesn't help with how much I was running up and down it. But I did not expect that, John. The nature of the race being so stop and start meant that all the different strategies that teams were trying, it was really hard to tell which one was the correct one. And I still don't know exactly what our Michelin moments of the race are, but there's so many candidates because of all the decisions the teams were forced to make.
Well, let's let's just get ourselves a little bit of a breath after that 20-odd minutes at the end. The usual run to the flag in Michelin Pilot Challenge, Ryan, and that sets up last 6 hours of the season. 3 further races: Indianapolis, VIR, and then of course Motul Petit Le Mans. 3 great circuits, 3 slightly different circuits, but really you've got to say that all of the teams and drivers that we have mentioned have got to feel they're in with a chance. But the guys who did the best today have really got the momentum in MMG, Macumbi-Macaleer Racing as well, and particularly for Jensen Altman, who'll be really happy that he held on for that victory and now closes to 90 points on the championship lead.
No question. I think for the RS1 guys, they've spent this entire season feeling like they were in control of the GS title. That's gone now. They're going to have to recalibrate the way they approach these weekends because that buffer that they've built, it's more or less evaporated at this point. Just 90 points back to second, 120 points to 3rd place. It's incredibly close in GS. It's somehow even closer in TCR, which means it figures to be a really fun run to Motul Petit Le Mans, the final race of the Michelin Pilot Challenge season here in 2025.
So let's just once again confirm the results, although they are provisional at this time. The top 4 separated by under 2 seconds, the top 5 by under 4, and the top 6 by just on 5.5 seconds after 25 minutes of green flag racing. And it's congratulations to Jensen Altman and Nate Cicero. Another pole position for Nate. Another great closers performance from Jensen Altman, who wins it ahead of the BMW of Carl Barn and Auto Technica. And in TCR, the whole championship thrown upside down, with Bryson Morris winning for Brian Herter Autosport. We'll see you at the next one for the whole team. I'm John Hindhaugh. Bye-bye for now.